Ooh, what's up YouTube? This is Mox Lotus and welcome to another episode of First Pick. Today we're going to be opening up a pack of Fate Reforged. And we're just going to get into it today, no lengthy introductions. But pretty much I actually weighed the packs, like the 3 packs that I bought before I decided to open them. And they all weighed 29 grams. So that was this pack, the Dragons of Tarkir pack we opened yesterday. And, well, the pack we're going to be opening next time, which is, well, I won't spoil it, but basically, in the Dragons of Tarkir pack, we actually managed to open a foil, and so, if it all got measured right, that means that in those 2 packs, because all the packs weighed the same, we could be getting 3 foils. So let's stay optimistic. If we don't get foils, one thing I wouldn't mind pulling is a mythic rare, and not because I care about money, but that's because I literally never pull mythic rares. You guys have seen Friday Night packs, I've yet to pull a mythic rare in that. But yeah, this isn't Friday Night packs, this is all about drafting. So let's get into it now. So our first card is the Gurmag Angler. And this is a 5/5 for 7 with Delve. And I really like this guy. It's pretty easy to make him a 5/5 for 5, but you can get him for even cheaper. Like by turn 7, or no, even earlier than that, you should have enough creatures in the graveyard to get a sizable discount on this guy. So we'll definitely put him in the good pile. Again, like in last episode, we'll have a good pile, an alright pile, and a not very good pile. Our next card is Refocus. This is an instant for 2. You can untap target creature and draw a card. It's alright, I think. Drawing the card is pretty nice for 2 mana, but untapping the creature doesn't really do a lot. I guess we'll put it in between good and okay, because I don't think it's an okay card. I don't think it's bad enough to be one of them, but it's not a great one either. Next up, Soul Summons. So this lets you manifest the top card of your library, so that makes it a 2/2, and you can turn it up at any time for its mana cost. So that's pretty nice. It's got manifest. Getting a 2/2 for 2 is fine if you don't have another 2-drop play, and provided it stays alive, you can turn it up later on. I definitely think this is pretty solid. There is a card, I actually thought it was this card for a second, called Cloud Form, which is for 1 extra white mana you can manifest, and the manifested creature gains flying, and that's a really good card. I'm hoping we see that in this pack, but even so, I think that warrants a spot in the good pile. Next up, we have Will of the Naga. This is an instant for 6 with Delve, and you can tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next end untap step. Yeah, I don't think this card's too great, to be honest. It's too expensive on its own, and honestly, considering how much, you are using up quite a few resources to Delve, and if you have ways to bring them back, then it is kind of a waste. And honestly, even getting a discount on this card, I don't really think it's worth it. So we're going to put it in the bad pile. Alright, so now I've got Ancestral Vengeance. This is an enchantment for 2 black, and when it enters the battlefield, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and the enchanted creature gets -1/-1. So pretty much this is sort of a way to get +1/+1 counters on it to, synergize all the Abzan mechanics. But really, actually, you can actually use this to kill an opponent's creature and put the +1/+1 counter on your creature. I didn't read that, but well, still, it works with the Abzan mechanic, and I think that this card's pretty handy. It's a bit situational, and it's not going to be killing too much. The +1/+1 counter is nice, but we're going to put it down here with Refocus in the pretty good pile. Next up, we have Fierce Invocation. This lets you manifest the top card of your library and put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So it's going to be a 4/4 manifest thing for 5, which is alright, because again, you can always, if it's something that costs 5, you can always turn it up next turn. And again, there is the +1/+1 counter synergy. Because it's red, it's not really going to be fitting into a 3-color Abzan deck, but if you've got some green cards or some white cards or some black cards on their own that work with +1/+1 counters, then it could be pretty handy. I'm kind of torn on what to put this one in, but I think we'll put it in the good pile. I still think that on its own it's a fairly good card. You are essentially drawing a card and getting board presence at the same time with Manifest. Next up we have Temur Runemark. This is an enchantment for 3. The enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and it has trample as long as you control a blue or red permanent. So in Temur, you're probably going to be having a blue or red permanent on the field by the time you play this. And if you go, I don't know, turn 1, some like blue 1-drop, turn 2, some like a red 1-drop maybe, turn 3, Temur Runemark, you can get a really powerful creature. It'll probably be at least a 3/3 in the early game. And yeah, that can be pretty devastating, and also has trampled again, some damage. I reckon it's pretty solid. We'll put that in the good pile. Now we've got Tassigur's Cruelty. Tassigur is a card I wouldn't mind pulling from this pack, but it is a sorcery for 6 with Delve, and each opponent discards 2 cards. Yeah, this card isn't going to be too great. None of the Sultai cards really are, to be honest, especially in Limited. Discarding 2 cards really isn't too big of a deal, to be honest, and it's too expensive to really be worth it. So we'll put that with Will of the Naga. Alright, so now we've got Mardu Scout. This is a good card. This is a 3/1 for 2 red, or you can dash it in for 1 generic and 1 red. And yeah, this is a very good card. It's really good when you dash it in because 3 attack is pretty strong, and your opponent won't really expect it. And it's actually easier to play dashing than it is to just play it normally. We're definitely going to throw this card in the good pile. So I think we're up to the uncommons now. Yep. So we've got Hungering Yeti. Say 4/4 for 6. And as long as you control a green or blue permanent, you can cast it as though it had flash. This is alright. You can use it to block. I mean, a 4/4 for 5 isn't too bad. It is a bit situational. I still think it's fairly good, but we'll throw it with the pretty good cards. So we haven't had anything that I'll really consider to be mediocre yet, which is good, I guess. Most of these cards have been pretty good. Next up we've got Frostwalker, another Temur card. This is a 4/1 for 2. And when it becomes the target of a spell or ability, you sacrifice it. So there's some obvious Jeskai synergies there, just kidding. But yeah, to be honest, in the early game, because everything is going to have 1 attack most of the time, then it just gets traded with too easily, I think. And you could maybe use it as a blocker, but again, it's really easy to kill, so I guess we'll put that in the medium pile, honestly. It's not the worst. It can be pretty threatening in certain situations, but I think it's a bit risky. For our last uncommon, we have Dragon Rage. This is a instant for 3, and you can add 1 red to your mana pool for each attacking creature you control. Until end of turn, attacking creatures you control gain 5 rating, basically. So that's pretty handy. You can use this to as a pretty good finisher, actually. And yeah, you can attack with a bunch of people and then pump them up really quickly with the mana you get from it. I think this is a pretty solid card. I'd definitely put that in the good pile. And so it looks like I was right, and we actually have a foil. And we'll get to that in just a second. But our rare is oh yes, we actually pulled him, Tassigur the Golden Fang. Wow, I really wasn't expecting that. We've actually had pretty good luck on this series so far, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I won't spoil the previous pull that we got, but it was also a pretty good card. But Tassigur, on the other hand, is a 4/5 for 6 with Delve, and for 2 and 2 green or blue, you can put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a non-land card of an opponent's choice from the graveyard to your hand. Now I'm happy to pull this guy because he's worth a bit of money, and he is good in constructed, but in limited, to be honest, he's not really that useful, honestly. You can cast him for pretty cheap. You can make him, if you exile 2 cards from your graveyard and then you play him, then you can, that's some good value there. Gladly play him for 4. And you can also give yourself, plenty of Delve fuel with him. so like it will be easy to cast cards like Tazigur's Cruelty. But to be honest, I really don't think that he's really the card that you'd want to first pick, to be honest. I'd take him again because he's worth money, but there are better cards in this pack, and we'll get to them in just a second. But I think we can put him in the pretty good pile. Like, he's definitely not bad, but he's not amazing either. And for our foil, we have, oh nice, a foil rare, Outpost Siege. So this is an enchantment for 4, and when it enters the battlefield, you pick Khans or Dragons. And if you pick Khans at the beginning of your upkeep, you can exile the top card of your library, and until the end of the turn, you may play that card. So it's sort of like an extra draw in a way. Or if you pick Dragons, whenever a creature you control leads to the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So there are actually a lot of creatures with 1 power in this format, especially things like Mardu Scout and the Frostwalker and all that. And so this can be used to get rid of them. I don't think it's the best of the sieges, but it's pretty good. And yeah, I definitely think that if you got this just as your regular rare, like if you're playing red, it's definitely, I think, a first pick contender. So here we have the top 5 picks of the pack. This is a pretty Mardu focused pack, to be honest. Pretty much all the good cards, to be honest, can be used in a Mardu deck. And out of these, I'd definitely put Mardu Scout first. It's just such a good creature, I think. Dashing for 3 attack. If you're playing aggressively, then that's pretty handy. But you can also, I think you can cast it. Oh, I know it's not like Flash, but still, even on Sorin, I think it's a pretty good card. And in the early game, it can be pretty tough for your opponents to deal with if they don't have blockers, and it can deal quite a bit of damage to your opponent if you use him right. Next, we've got Outpost Siege. I don't think it's as good as Mardu Scout, but still a very powerful, helpful card. Can, clear your opponent's board a bit, deal some damage to them, or get you some sort of pseudo card advantage. It is pretty handy, and I mean the 4 mana is a bit steep, but still, I'd definitely put that number 2. Number 3, we have Fierce Invocation. Again, this is just a really handy card. It lets you get a 4/4 for 5, which is alright. It's got the +1/+1 counter Abzan synergy, and there's also things like, if it's a 5-drop that gets manifested, you can always play it next turn. Then we've got Soul Summons. This is just kind of like a smaller Fierce Invocations. Just getting a manifest for 2 is pretty handy if you're kind of stuck for creatures, I guess. And then coming in at number 5, we have Gurmag Angler. Just a really good solid creature. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And please let me know in the comments below what you would first pick from this pack. If you guys have any if you feel like I missed a card, or I was too harsh on one, like say the Hungering Yeti for example, then please let me know in the comments, because I'm interested to know what you guys think. But as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye guys.